pattern. On the knit machine, the side facing you is the garter stitch. The opposite side is a stockinette stitch. According to this hand knitting chart, the dots represent the purl and the blanks represent the knit. So we're going to knit 2 rows and manipulate the dots to a purl stitch. Knit 2 rows and repeat. We have 5 blanks, which we need to manipulate 5 stitches across the fabric. I'm going to start by casting on 41 needles, and this stitch pattern requires 8 stitches plus 1 plus 3. I did it with plus 1, so that's 9. This is a picture of the garter stitch, which will be the side facing you. This is stockinette stitch, the opposite side of the knit machine. This is how the finished product will look on the side facing you. This is how it will look on the opposite side of the fabric. Okay, let's get started. As I mentioned before, I cast on 41 needles. I'm knitting several rows, and I always record my stitch tension gauge by creating eyelets at the bottom of the swatch by transferring a stitch to the adjacent needle 4 times, and I'm using a tension of 4. Let's get a better close-up. How to create an eyelet. Take your tool into the hook, pull out, push in, transfer to the adjacent needle, and repeat this 4 times. Knit 1 row, push the needles back to working position, and knit another row. So I'm going to knit several rows before I start hand manipulating the stitches. I cast on 41 needles, and I'm going to skip 2 needles on each side of the machine. According to our chart, I'm going to skip the first 2, and then we're going to start with our hand manipulation by purling the first row that we knitted. Insert the needle in the stitch below using your latch tool. Hook up the bar and place back on the needle. Let's get a better look at that. Insert the needle in the stitch below the one knitted. Push, release the stitch. You see 1 bar. Hook it on the latch tool and place back on the needle. And we're going to do this 5 times. Insert the needle, pull, push back. See that 1 bar? Catch it on the latch tool, place back on the needle. Okay, we should have 5 done. The next, we're going to skip 3 needles. 1, 2, 3. 3 needles. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to start purling the next 5 set. Insert the needle, release the stitch. See that 1 bar? Grab it on the latch and place it back onto the needle hook. Repeat this 5 times. So our pattern is knit 2 rows, purl, skip the first 2 stitches, and purl the next 5 on the last row. Skip 3, then repeat by purling one row across the fabric. So it's skip 2, purl 5, skip 3, purl 5, skip 3, purl 5 across. When you get to the end, you're going to knit 2 rows. So we're only going to hand manipulate the last row of knit stitches to purl stitches with the pattern. Oh, looks like I got stuck here. This is a Singer 150 chunky knitting machine. It is a manual knitting machine. However, with the carriage, I can do tuck, fair out, and tarsia. Okay, this is what your fabric will look like with this pattern. Now it's time to remove the swatch from the machine. Using a transfer tool, unthread the yarn from the carriage. Then pull the first needle out, front, back, transfer it to the next needle, push that needle forward, then wrap the yarn around the hook and push it back and transfer that stitch to the next needle. And this is how you bind off. Another way to bind off. I usually bind off this way on swatches. And I use the claw weight and place it at the end so my bind off will not be too tight. And that is how you hand manipulate creating this design. Thank you. Using a hand knitting book and chart.